Throughout history, beauty has been admired, celebrated, and even immortalized in legends. In ancient China, 4 women stood out among all others, their beauty so extraordinary that it became the stuff of myths. They were known as the 4 Great Beauties: Shi, Wang Zhaojun, Diao Chan, and Yang Guifei. Each of these women lived in a different dynasty, but their names have been passed down for centuries. Their beauty was said to be so breathtaking that it could move the heavens and change the course of history. But they were not just admired for their looks. They also played significant roles in shaping the politics and culture of their time. Legends say that Shi's beauty could make fish forget how to swim. Wang Zhaojun's elegance caused birds to fall from the sky. Diao Chan's charm was so great that it made the moon hide in shame, and Yang Guifei's radiance could put flowers to shame. These poetic descriptions reflect just how deeply their beauty was revered. But their stories are not just about admiration. They are also tales of power, sacrifice, and the influence they held over emperors and kingdoms. Through their beauty, they changed the fate of nations for better or for worse. Who were these legendary women? What were their stories, and how did they leave such a lasting impact on Chinese history? Let's take a closer look at the 4 great beauties of ancient China. Shi is often considered the most beautiful woman in ancient China. She lived during the spring and autumn period, more than 2,500 years ago, in the small state of Yu. Even as a young girl, her beauty was said to be unmatched. Legends describe her as so stunning that even nature itself reacted to her presence. One famous tale says that when Shi washed silk by the river, the fish in the water were so mesmerized by her reflection that they forgot how to swim and sank to the bottom. This story gave rise to the phrase "chinyu," meaning sinking fish, a poetic way to describe breathtaking beauty. But Shi's story is not just one of admiration. It is also a tale of sacrifice, political intrigue, and the power beauty can hold. During her time, the state of Yu was in a desperate situation. It had been defeated by the neighboring state of Wu, and its king, Gojian, had been humiliated and forced into servitude under the Wu ruler, King Fuchai. However, Gojian never gave up on the idea of revenge. He and his loyal minister, Fan Li, devised a plan to weaken Wu from within. Their strategy? To send the most beautiful woman in Yu, Shi, as a gift to Fuchai, hoping she would capture his heart and distract him from governing wisely. Shi was carefully trained in the art of music, dance, and conversation to become the perfect consort. When she was finally sent to Wu, her beauty immediately captivated King Fuchai. He was so enchanted by her that he built luxurious palaces, including the famous Guanhua Palace, just to please her. He spent his days indulging in banquets and entertainment, neglecting state affairs and ignoring the warnings of his most trusted advisor, Wu Zixu. Over time, the once mighty Wu kingdom grew weaker, while Yu secretly rebuilt its military strength. Years later, when Wu was at its most vulnerable, Yu launched its final attack. Without a strong leader to defend it, Wu fell. King Fuchai, realizing his mistake too late, took his own life. The plan had worked. Shi had played a crucial role in the downfall of Wu, helping Yu reclaim its power. But what happened to Shi after the war? Her fate remains a mystery, and different legends tell different endings. Some say that she was taken away by Fan Li, the minister who had helped orchestrate the plan. It is believed that he had loved her all along, and after their mission was complete, he retired from politics and sailed away with Shi to live a peaceful life together. Others claim that she was drowned in a river to prevent her from being used as a political tool again. Regardless of which version is true, Shi's story has been passed down for centuries, not just as a tale of beauty, but as an example of how one woman's presence could change the course of history. She remains one of the most famous figures in Chinese legend, a woman whose beauty was both a blessing and a curse. Wang Zhaojun is one of China's most famous historical beauties, but unlike others, her story is not just about admiration. It is about sacrifice, diplomacy, and the power of one woman to bring peace between warring nations. She lived during the Western Han Dynasty, over 2,000 years ago. Born into a respectable family, she was known not only for her extraordinary beauty, but also for her intelligence and talent in music, calligraphy, and poetry. At that time, it was common for the emperor to select concubines from noble families, and Wang Zhaojun was chosen to join the imperial palace. However, unlike most concubines, she never received the emperor's attention. Why? Because of a powerful and corrupt tradition. In those days, palace women's portraits were painted by court artists and then shown to the emperor for selection. But the artists expected bribes. Those who paid were painted beautifully, while those who refused were given unflattering portraits. Wang Zhaojun, who had too much dignity to bribe anyone, was deliberately painted in an unattractive way. As a result, Emperor Yuan of Han never noticed her and left her to live in obscurity within the palace. Her fate changed when the Xiongnu, a powerful nomadic tribe to the north, requested a Han princess as part of a peace alliance. This was a difficult request. The Han dynasty did not want to give away an actual princess, so they decided to send a concubine instead. The emperor asked for volunteers, and Wang Zhaojun stepped forward. Only when she was presented at court did the emperor see her true beauty for the first time. He was stunned. She was far more beautiful than any of the favored concubines he had chosen before. But it was too late to take her back. She had already been promised to the Xiongnu chieftain, Huhanyi Chanyu. Wang Zhaojun left behind the luxuries of palace life and traveled far to the north, where she married Huhanyi Chanyu and became his queen. Instead of resentment, she embraced her new role with grace and wisdom. Her presence strengthened the bond between the Han dynasty and the Xiongnu, bringing years of peace between the two nations. After Huhanyi Chanyu passed away, Wang Zhaojun followed the Xiongnu custom and married his successor, ensuring that her influence in maintaining peace continued. Some records suggest that she bore children who later played important roles in both Xiongnu and Han affairs. Wang Zhaojun's story is remembered as a symbol of diplomacy and sacrifice. She did not use her beauty for personal gain, but instead helped bridge two cultures through her marriage. Her legendary beauty inspired the phrase luoyan, meaning falling geese, based on the tale that when she rode out on her journey to the north, her beauty was so striking that a flock of geese flying overhead forgot to flap their wings and fell from the sky. Though she spent the rest of her life far from her homeland, Wang Zhaojun's legacy endured. Today, she is celebrated as more than just a great beauty. She is remembered as a woman whose grace and sacrifice helped shape history. Diao Chan is one of the most legendary beauties in Chinese history. Though unlike the others, her existence remains uncertain. She is a key figure in the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, a famous historical novel, and is remembered for her intelligence, bravery, and role in changing the course of history through a dangerous political scheme. She lived during the late Eastern Han Dynasty, a time of chaos, corruption, and war. The empire was controlled by a ruthless and tyrannical warlord named Dong Zhuo, who had seized power and ruled with cruelty. He was aided by his adopted son, Lu Bu, a fierce warrior known for his unmatched strength in battle. However, Lu Bu was also reckless and easily swayed by emotions, which became the key to his downfall. Diao Chan was said to be a lady-in-waiting in the court of a loyal minister named Wang Yun. She was not only breathtakingly beautiful but also intelligent and devoted to her country. Wang Yun, desperate to save the empire from Dong Zhuo's tyranny, devised a dangerous plan, and Diao Chan was at the heart of it. The plan was known as the Beauty Trap. Wang Yun first introduced Diao Chan to Lu Bu in secret, and he instantly fell in love with her. Then Wang Yun presented her to Dong Zhuo, who was equally captivated by her beauty. This created a deadly rivalry between father and son. Diao Chan skillfully played her role, fueling Lu Bu's jealousy by pretending to suffer under Dong Zhuo's control. She whispered words of sorrow, telling Lu Bu that she belonged to him but had been taken by Dong Zhuo against her will. Unable to bear it any longer, Lu Bu turned against his adopted father. In a dramatic betrayal, Lu Bu assassinated Dong Zhuo, believing that by doing so, he would finally have Diao Chan for himself. However, his victory was short-lived. Without Dong Zhuo's influence, Lu Bu found himself surrounded by enemies. Eventually, he was captured and executed by the warlord Cao Cao, bringing a brutal end to his story. As for Diao Chan, her fate remains unknown. Some versions say she was killed during the chaos, while others suggest she quietly disappeared from history. Despite the uncertainty of her existence, Diao Chan's story has been told for generations as a symbol of intelligence, strategy, and the power of beauty. She is famously associated with the phrase "bue," meaning hiding the moon, based on the legend that when she once stood under the night sky, the moon itself was so ashamed of being outshone by her beauty that it hid behind the clouds. Diao Chan's tale remains one of the most dramatic and fascinating stories in Chinese history, proving that even in times of war and chaos, one woman's wit and courage could change the fate of an empire. Yang Guifei, also known as Yang Yuhuan, was one of the most famous and influential women in Chinese history. Her beauty was legendary, but her story is also one of love, luxury, and ultimate tragedy. She lived during the Tang Dynasty, a time of great cultural and political power, and became the favorite consort of Emperor Xuanzong. Born into a noble family, Yang Yuhuan was known not only for her breathtaking appearance, but also for her charm, grace, and talent in music and dance. She first entered the royal court as the wife of Emperor Xuanzong's son, Prince Li Mao. However, fate had a different plan. When the emperor saw her, he was so captivated by her beauty that he decided she must be his. To make this possible, he sent her to a Buddhist temple, forcing her to become a nun temporarily. Then, after a period of time, he brought her back to the palace and made her his consort, bestowing upon her the title Guifei, meaning noble consort, the highest rank for an imperial concubine. Emperor Xuanzong was deeply in love with Yang Guifei. To please her, he showered her with gifts, built luxurious palaces, and even appointed her family members to high-ranking positions, despite their lack of political experience. The most infamous of them was her cousin, Yang Guifei, whose incompetence and corruption would later contribute to disaster. Yang Guifei was not just a passive figure in the palace. She was known for her love of music and dance. She was particularly fond of a mesmerizing court dance called the Rainbow Skirt and Feathered Coat Dance, which she performed for the emperor. He was so enchanted by her that he neglected his imperial duties, allowing his officials to govern in his place. This led to growing unrest in the empire. The love story of Yang Guifei and Emperor Xuanzong might have remained one of passion and luxury, if not for the outbreak of the Enlushan rebellion. General Enlushan, once a trusted military commander, led a massive revolt against the Tang dynasty, blaming the corrupt rule of Yang Guifei and the emperor's obsession with pleasure. The rebellion was devastating, forcing Emperor Xuanzong and his court to flee the capital, Chang'an. As they reached Maui, the imperial guards, exhausted and furious at the suffering caused by the emperor's negligence, demanded justice. They blamed Yang Guifei and, by extension, Yang Guifei for the empire's downfall. With no other choice, the emperor was forced to order Yang Guifei's execution. She was strangled by his own guards, bringing a tragic end to the woman he loved most. Devastated, Emperor Xuanzong never recovered from the loss. Though he lived for many more years, he eventually abdicated the throne, spending the rest of his life in sorrow. Yang Guifei's story became one of the most famous love tragedies in Chinese history, inspiring poetry, plays, and operas for centuries. She is famously associated with the phrase xiuhua, meaning wilting flowers, based on the legend that when she walked in the imperial gardens, the flowers themselves felt ashamed of their own beauty and bowed before her. Though her life ended in tragedy, Yang Guifei remains one of the most well-known figures in Chinese culture, remembered not only for her beauty, but for the immense impact she had on history. The four great beauties of ancient China were admired for their unmatched elegance and charm, but legends also tell us that even these extraordinary women were not perfect. Each of them was said to have a unique flaw. Yet, instead of diminishing their beauty, these so-called imperfections only made them more captivating. Shi Shi, whose beauty was so mesmerizing that fish would sink when they saw her reflection, was said to suffer from frequent chest pain. Some stories claim that she would often hold her chest in discomfort, but rather than making her look weak, this delicate gesture added to her grace and vulnerability, making her even more enchanting in the eyes of those who saw her. Wang Zhaojun, the woman whose presence could make birds fall from the sky, was said to have a small but noticeable blemish. However, this imperfection only became known later in history, when artists sought to explain why Emperor Yuan of Han had overlooked her in favor of less beautiful women. Whether real or imagined, the idea that she had a tiny flaw only emphasized the injustice of her being hidden away due to court corruption. Diao Chan, the legendary beauty who caused the moon to hide in shame, was believed to have a slightly large forehead. Some accounts say that this feature made her look even more intelligent and striking, giving her a regal and commanding presence. Her beauty, combined with her sharp wit, allowed her to manipulate powerful warlords and change the course of history. Yang Guifei, whose radiance could make flowers bow before her, was said to have been slightly overweight by traditional standards. However, in the Tang dynasty, fuller figures were associated with health, wealth, and high status. Rather than being seen as a flaw, her soft and curvaceous form was considered the ideal of beauty at the time, adding to her legendary allure. These so-called flaws did not take away from the greatness of the Four Beauties. Instead, they added to their charm. Their stories remind us that perfection is not necessary to captivate the world. True beauty is not about being flawless. It is about presence, character, and the way one carries oneself. And for Shi, Wang Zhaojun, Diao Chan, and Yang Guifei, their imperfections only made them all the more unforgettable. Concubine Yang, known for her extraordinary beauty, had a unique bathing ritual. When she bathed in the hot springs, she would use the patting method, gently patting her entire body with her hands. The Tang dynasty, which inherited many traditions from the Northern dynasty, built a hot spring palace, with Huaqing Pool being the most famous. According to tradition, hot springs were believed to have the power to ward off bad spirits and prevent illnesses. Yang Guifei also had a special way of caring for her skin. She often bathed in the hot springs with peony peel, mulberry leaves, and nettle. When these were added to the water, they were said to calm the nerves, promote skin regeneration, and leave the skin feeling smooth and soft. To maintain her youthful and radiant complexion, Mistress Yang created her own skin cream by mixing goji berries, almond oil, and honey. This blend helped her keep her skin glowing and fresh. It is also believed that lychee fruit was used in her hot spring baths. Rich in protein, vitamins B and C, phosphorus, and iron, lychee helped moisturize her skin and keep it hydrated. Another beauty secret of hers was the peach blossom mask. This mask was made by crushing dried peach blossoms into a fine powder and mixing it with the blood of a black chicken. It was believed to hydrate the skin, whiten it, and even help with metabolism. In ancient China, women paid great attention to their eyebrows, as they believed that brows were connected to their fate. During the Warring States period, women would paint their eyebrows using ashes from burning willow branches. Another method of eyebrow makeup involved grinding a blue mineral called dye into powder and mixing it with water. This created a distinctive look that was both elegant and powerful. The Four Great Beauties of ancient China, Shi, Wang Zhaojun, Diao Chan, and Yang Guifei, embody more than just physical allure. They represent the extraordinary power that beauty can hold in shaping history. Their captivating looks were not merely admired. They became symbols of strength, sacrifice, and wisdom, influencing politics and war in ways that resonate to this day. Each beauty faced her own challenges and flaws, yet their stories remind us that true beauty goes beyond perfection. It is about presence, character, and the lasting impact one can have on the world. These legendary women are etched in history, not only for their mesmerizing appearances, but for their undeniable ability to change the fate of nations, leaving behind a legacy that transcends time. For more details on this topic, check out the corresponding article on our website. You can find the link in the description below. Thanks for watching.